So before I get started on today's topic, which is the crisis involving tech literacy within late Gen Z and some parts of Gen Alpha, I do want to talk about this. Mostly because I guess this does kind of tie into all of this, and the fact that a lot of people just generally do not know or do not care about their rights online. And, look, I'm sorry, I know I'm making a lot of videos about ID verification. Please, bear with me on this one, okay? Please just bear with me. So the big fucking push right now, the big push right now, in terms of trying to put ID verification measures on multiple different websites and operating systems and things like that, is mostly coming from Facebook or Meta, if you want to call them that. Listen, I'm not okay with dead naming people, but I am okay with dead naming a corporation. Because remember, corporations are not people, and Citizens United is not a real law. I'm gonna be mentioning this in my other video, but I normally don't do anything on Reddit unless it really involves me trying to get some type of ground-based institutional research that I can't just get by walking up to random motherfuckers in the grocery store parking lot. So, a user on Reddit, more specifically r/Linux, user OK_Lingonberry3296, has mentioned that they traced $2 billion in non-profit grants and 45 states of lobbying records to find out who's behind the age verification bills, and the answer involves a company that profits from your data and writing laws specifically to collect more of it, and that being Facebook/Meta. Now look, I could talk more about the lizard person that is Zuck the Cuck, but I'm not fucking doing that right now. God, this motherfucker was not shoved in enough lockers in schools. And this is coming from somebody who has thick-framed glasses. Now look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm entirely surprised or anything like that. I kind of honestly figured that it was something like OpenAI that was more so trying to do this, because OpenAI and Palantir and all these other AI companies literally live and feed off of inputting as much data as humanly possible into this large amorphous blob of a machine that just chews up your data and then shits it out into the government. Right? That is mostly what I thought. I kind of figured it was going to be an AI data company, but no, it turns out that it was actually Facebook, which, okay, they are also an AI data company because, you know, everything is fucking AI nowadays, but, I mean, it's all weird, man. This entire fucking world is weird. Now look, anytime I mention a website in this video, I'm just gonna have it in the description because these are details that are still emerging, and there's a lot to read about this, especially the r/Linux post, but you really don't hate these companies enough. You really do not hate modern day tech companies as much as you should. And this is a reminder, by the way, that you should hate these companies as much as I do, if not even more in a lot of cases. Now, something I want to point out is that this is not a new revelation, right? This is not a new revelation in the slightest, because even though, like, it's good that people on Reddit are talking about this, it's good that people on Y-Combinator are talking about this, it's good that people on Politico and Biometric Update are talking about this. Apparently, this is a massive push from Facebook themselves, this gigantic, monolithic, almost unfucking touchable company, to get the government off of their ass. Which is funny, because the government has never actually cared about basically anything that has happened on Facebook within the last, God knows how long, since whenever Facebook fucking, like, first came up, right? They've been taken to court a couple of times, they've had to do congressional hearings a couple of times, but nothing has ever really actually happened to Facebook, even though there are things that should honestly happen to Facebook. I think this is the one time in which I am actually advocating for law enforcement to go into Facebook, like Facebook headquarters, and start, like, rounding people up. We need some fucking mass subpoenas, because if they are doing all of this to try to get the government off of their ass, who the fuck knows what they're hiding? And I know exactly what they're hiding. They're hiding a lot. They are hiding a lot of horrible, horrible shit. In my ID verification video, my previous video to this one, I offhandedly mentioned that I was a victim of predation. I offhandedly mentioned that in this video. And Facebook was the platform that it happened on, and nothing was reported. Facebook didn't report anybody to the police. Facebook did not immediately deactivate accounts. They didn't deactivate my account for being involved. They didn't deactivate anyone's account for being involved. They didn't see that a minor was being exploited on their platform, and they didn't take action. And now they're over here saying that they need to protect the children from using iOS and Android? Fuck that shit, dude. Actually, fuck that shit. I am disgusted by this being their little measure to try to make sure that the government doesn't look into all of the diabolical shit that Facebook has been involved with. You want to talk about some fucking controversies? Let's talk about some fucking controversies. On screen, right now, you will see me scrolling through a separate Wikipedia page talking about every single lawsuit and controversy that Facebook has been involved with. By the way, I think it's a real fucking class act that Mr. Zuck the Cuck over here is talking about protecting the children when that motherfucker was on Epstein's Island and has talked to Epstein about matters that I definitely don't know about, and I don't think I want to know about them. He was probably sitting there eating a child-sized shish kebab the whole fucking time, fingers and all. By the way, this is Facebook's way of trying to circumvent any sort of data protection laws that do exist in the United States by funding states to do their bidding on their behalf so they can make a shit ton of money off of your data. And not only that, but probably children's data as well. Who's to say that they won't actually just be able to violate COPPA entirely because of something like this? If they end up collecting some kid's ID or some information based around some kid and they start selling that, well, that's in direct contradiction with United States law. But Facebook doesn't fucking care. They make a shit ton of money off of that. Of course they would make a shit ton of money off of that. Why the fuck wouldn't they want to, try to advertise Nike shoes to an 11-year-old? Why the fuck wouldn't they try to do something like that? Now, again, they have been doing this for years at this point. There are numerous articles specifically centered around Facebook doing this, and Facebook openly doing this on the behalf of themselves to try to make sure that they can just collect all that data. It is fucking sickening what we allow these tech companies to do because we can't live 3 fucking seconds without things like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Because we can't do that shit. Listen, all I am going to say is that you, and I'm talking to you need to stop using Instagram. You need to stop using Facebook. You need to stop using WhatsApp. You need to stop using any sort of Facebook services if possible. If you can stop using Oculus, and you haven't touched that Oculus headset in a while, stop using Oculus until Facebook improves its platform and stops doing this shit. This is, again, a distraction method to make sure that the government and you are not focusing on them and their filthy, disgusting, degenerate little data harvesting tactics. They want it so you have to go through their systems to put your information into their systems so you can use your operating system, your apps, your app stores. And they are trying to capitulate with states to make sure that they can get around all of this using legal methods. And Google and Apple won't fucking save you. They are also massive data harvesting firms. So you need to stand the fuck up for your rights, and you need to stand the fuck up for your privacy and say no to Facebook. You need to get them the fuck out of your community and get them the fuck off of your device. And if you are going to sit here and tell me that resistance is futile, no the fuck it isn't. We were able to bully companies like Discord, which have a massive fucking market cap. We were able to bully multiple fucking companies like OpenAI because of their dealings with the United States government. We can bully these companies into submission, and we can make them our fucking dogs. So get the fuck off of these platforms and exercise your rights. Start downloading archives of operating systems that do not utilize ID verification. This has been Techmo Snowspark with this little PSA, signing off. Peace.